Good evening, everybody. It is the Lorn and Apollo show. Tonight, here with me is Marv doing the co hosting duties. Unfortunately, Kevin ran into some weather that was causing some issues for him, and so he said that at the very least he would be late. I kind of have some questions as to whether he'll actually be able to make it, but if so, he'll be popping in later in the stream. We also had some conflicts with Martin, who normally joins us, and Trish is a little bit under the weather tonight, but is planning to join us after we do the news segment. So if you guys are wondering why we're a little light tonight, that's why. But hoping to have a good time anyway. We got a number of stories to discuss, and then we'll get into our main topic for the night, which is the cinema of 1995. And I did see out there in the chat that Cape Canaveral was asking, are we just going through the decade chronologically? And yeah, that is what we've been doing. Just because it's easier to keep track of. I understand that jumping around might be a little bit more fun, but you also have the tendency then to cherry pick the stuff that's best.
Uh-oh.
And then you have a bunch of crap to deal with. And so I think it's how the decade progressed, because what we were discussing in this series was just how many great movies came out in the 90s. And this year, 95, was another fantastic year.
It was a good one.
But eventually you saw... What's that?
I was saying it was a good one. I didn't realize how good it was going to be.
I didn't either. I actually thought 94 was kind of a weak year, but this one, it's had a whole bunch of bangers on it, such that it's like I was going through the list and it's like, well, heck, I've got mine filled and there's still a lot of great stuff for everybody else.
Well, you know what? Like, it was really fascinating to me was that how quickly like sequels were turned around back then, because there were movies that we talked about for 94 that the sequel came out in 95.
Well, a lot of that's because the advent of CGI hadn't happened yet, and CGI takes time to do all the VFX. Back then, they were doing everything with either plate photography or just miniatures and plain old actual real physical stunts, and that's part of what made it fun. I see Angel Hickson is asking, I hope we do the 80s too. The 80s is probably my favorite decade cinematically, maybe it was 70s and 80s. I don't know if we do the whole decade. I don't want to just do years of movies continually, but this has been a really popular series and people seem to be enjoying it. So I think we'll do at least a few years of the 80s. 89 in particular, I think, was just maybe the most seminal year that I can remember for movies. I don't know about you, Marv. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, 95 is up there though. I mean, I had a lot of movies that were like very, very close to my heart. So, but by the way, the one thing I like, it felt like a lot longer to me when I was a kid was the gap between Ace Ventura and Ace Ventura When Nature Calls, because it was the next year.
Yeah, which, as you said, is a remarkably fast turnaround. That's the kind of thing that you usually only got if you're filming the movies at the same time. When
I brought it up because it's not on my list, because Ace Ventura When Nature Calls is a terrible movie, but it does have one of my all-time favorite bits when he's coming out of that rhino robot.
Right. Anyway, that's kind of why we've been doing the cinema by the decade. This was Kevin's idea. I kind of really hate that we're doing this tonight because Kevin's not here, and I know that he's just really enjoyed this series. This whole series was his idea, and I wanted to get his picks for tonight. So if he doesn't make it tonight, maybe what we'll do is just a little bit of makeup the next time that he's on so that he can tell us what his picks for this year would have been. In any case, we're going to get to our stories. When it comes time to get to the main topic, Trish will be jumping in. She's watching the stream right now. We're going to do hers first and then get her out because, as I said, she's very under the weather, and we want to make sure that we're not keeping her too long. But because we're short a panelist tonight, Marv has actually got a few more than normal. I think he's got 14, and I've got the traditional 10. We've got enough news stories that I think that we can fill out the normal time, but if not, you guys, we can either just do a Q&A or whatever we need to do to get to the end of the show. Anyway, thankful all of you guys are here. I hope some of you were coming from the gameplay stream that Pro and all of us were doing. We were playing Mario Kart tonight. I was doing it very badly. Marv was doing much better.
Still not great, though.
Well, you know, it's like I think you're in the same situation that I am, where we're not guys who have really played this game a whole lot, so we're sort of learning the ropes, and we've got some ringers in there, and
I get trial by fire every week, so
And then you've got people that are cheating like Wilton, and so
Exactly.
there's not much that you can do about that. But maybe in our off time we'll do a little practice, pick up a little bit more, and see how that goes. We're having a lot of fun over there. I hope you guys are checking that out too. We're trying to do another relaunch of this channel, and do a lot more of actual playing of games instead of just discussing it. And so I think there's all kinds of fun stuff that we can do over there, and we'd love to have you join us. Marvin, what have you been up to this week?
Oh my gosh, what haven't I been up to? It's just been such a crazy busy news week. I've been basically chained to my desk all week. Um, a lot of news to cover on both websites, a lot of videos to get made over on M4 Empire. We've been streaming on M4 Empire Gaming. So yeah, just a whole lot going on. I've had very little time to do anything else. Um, went to Costco tonight.
Well,
That was kind of the highlight of my week. Like that was like the big day trip.
one of the things we are going to talk about a little bit later if we get to the story, but I'd like to hear your thoughts on it because I think that you have been watching it, is I know you've been watching A Night of the Seven Kingdoms,
Yeah.
and I finally got a chance to watch the first episode. I haven't seen any more than that, but this is my favorite in the series of stories of Game of Thrones, at least as far as I've read into it, and I was very, very pleased with that first episode. There are some deviations from the text, but they are mainly to insert some comedic bits that weren't in the actual novella.
I mean, I'm reading the graphic novel right now that came out in 2013, and I gotta say, like, it's pretty close, like work like line for line a lot of the times. Like, like I'll hunt you down with dogs. You don't have any dogs. Like, like all of that's in there. Like, I love their entire dynamic. I will say, I figured out who Egg was, and I won't give any spoilers, but I figured out who Egg was pretty immediately.
Yeah, I mean, they don't. I don't want to get into that a whole bunch because there are people I'm sure that
Yeah, I
that
don't want to
haven't
give
seen it,
spoilers.
haven't read it, but it's not really the point. The point is the relationship between these two people,
Yes, it's
and
wonderful.
and that continues throughout the other novellas as well. And Dunk is possibly my very favorite character in the entire
Oh,
series
he's so
because
good.
like I said, he's just a good man. He's a good
Yep.
man with a pure heart. He's about the only one in Westeros that is actually a good and decent person.
Yeah, him and
Um,
Jon Snow are like the only two
yeah,
that like are actually good people.
and that does become important later. The thing that I love about Dunk, especially, is that in the text, he's constantly referring to himself as not being a very smart guy. He's
Yeah.
Dunk the Lunk, thick as a castle wall. He talks down about himself. But he does have a kind of confidence and a kind of wisdom that comes from having a good heart. And he's too good for the Seven Kingdoms,
He
honestly.
really is. He really, really, especially during the Targaryen reign. You know which character I love is it Lionel Baratheon? Who's the Baratheon
Oh, the
lord?
Laughing Storm.
The Laughing Giant. He's great.
Yes.
I love him in this show. He's phenomenal.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's interesting as well because you get to see each of these families 100 years before you see them in the mainline series. And they are still true to their family lines. Every one of the characters that you see in the show is, if you become obsessive about the lineages of all of these characters, you will know some of their personal histories. You'll have heard about them in the mainline series, and you're going back and seeing as they were when they were alive, and that is just an awful lot of fun. I think that so far, I mean, again, I've only seen the one episode, but it seems perfectly cast, fantastically acted. I couldn't be happier with the casting that I've seen so far. The only thing that threw me a little bit is that in the novella, I have the collected novellas in a single volume that is self-titled A Night of the Seven Kingdoms. It's illustrated. I'm used to Dunk with long hair.
Yeah.
In the illustrations, he's got long hair
He's
down
got
to his
long hair.
shoulder.
And in the graphic novel, he does too.
But that's the only real thing that threw me a little bit when I saw it. So
I mean, I almost turned it off in the beginning when he's like pooping by
yeah,
the tree. And I'm
yeah,
like, why do I have to see that? Like,
yeah. That's one of those comedic bits that they stuck in there, and that was a surprise to me, was when they were sticking some things in there that weren't in there. It is to create a contrast so that you can see how Dunk sees the world, and then you get these little flashbacks to him and his master where it was like maybe things weren't exactly the way that Dunk saw them.
Yeah, I mean, look, the gross out gags, like Highboy just said it. The gross out gags are annoying. Like at one point, what's his face? Dunk's master like walks out of a house and he's like naked as a jaybird,
Yep.
and like it's like just out there, and it's like grossly large, and like it's like they're playing it for a laugh, and I'm just like, I don't need. There's such a thing as too much horn talk, and a fellow ought to be aware of it.
So I think the series has ended now, hasn't it? Have you seen all of it, or are you?
No, there's two more episodes.
Oh, okay. So I wasn't aware of that. All right. So you don't know how it ends yet.
Yeah, well,
Um,
there's either two more episodes or there's one more episode. No, I think there's two more. I think there's
well,
one this
it
weekend and the next. So
it
they just did the trial.
the Trial of Seven.
Yes, the trial of the seven. That just happened. That just ended, and the big thing that happens in that happens at the end of the last episode. This episode was a little slower, and I thought it was going to be a very like fast episode, but they intersperse like the action sequences with flashbacks to see like Dunk's life, like as a kid and how he meets his master and all that other stuff. But the they did a lot of there's a lot of like fog on the battlefield, which was
Uh-huh.
done because of budgetary reasons. And everybody was like, yeah, no, that makes sense. That's fine. Like, should have done that for the Battle of Winterfell instead of having it just be so dark that nobody could see it.
Well, I think it's that way in the novella as well, but it's been a while since I've read it, so I'd have to go back and check. The
Mhm.
main thing that I'm getting from you, though, is that so far you're not disappointed, and I think what I've heard from others is that it's actually getting better with each episode.
It is. A lot of people said that this last episode was a step back. I don't think it was a step back. I just think it was a lateral step because I enjoyed learning more about these characters.
Well,
Um,
I'm very glad for once in our lives to have something positive to talk about. There,
the show has been a delight. Like it really has been a bright spot, and I'm like this. Nerdrotic said I think that this is probably going to end up being show of the year for him.
I saw Critical Drinker was also really talking it up, and that made me so happy. I knew that they were making the show before it came out, but I had kind of forgotten about it until
Mm,
the first trailer came out. And when I saw the first trailer, I was so giddy because whenever you're reading something, you create images and pictures in your mind of what you think it would look like, how it should be, how you would do it if you were going to do it cinematically. And the trailer looked better
yeah.
than what I had imagined in my head. And I got really excited and then I got really nervous because, as I mentioned before, I have never finished Game of Thrones. I haven't finished reading the novels. I haven't finished the TV series. I think I only got to like season three.
Nobody's finished the novels.
It was right. But I've heard everybody be so disappointed with what happened, and that breaks my heart because I love the series, what I have seen of it so far. And so this fear crept in. Oh my gosh, are they going to screw this up? I've heard the same thing about House of the Dragon, and
Well,
hearing
House of the
those
Dragon has
things,
apparently deviated so far from the books that it's like unrecognizable at this point.
and that's what scared me because this, as I said, these are my favorite stories in that universe. And when you started talking it up, I got really excited again because it's like, oh, good. It sounds like they're actually doing it right. And so I was able to go to a friend's house and see that first episode. And it's like, okay, I'm very happy with what I've seen so far.
Yeah.
Based on your discussions with me about what comes after, I'm very happy. And I can't wait to see what they do with it next. We should get into the super chats that we have. We have one from Snarky Distinct for $4.99. I graduated high school in 1995, a month before my 18th birthday. Ages ago, it seems. Oh, how I have changed in the world as well. Make it great. So you graduated the year before I did, and it's weird because this year's my 30th reunion. I've been to the 10th. I've been to the 20th. I don't know if I'll go to the 30th. Actually, I don't know if they even have one planned yet. Um, in some ways, it feels like a lifetime ago. In others, it feels like Man, I feel like I just walked out of the halls of the school. It's always weird
Hmm.
how that time dilation happens. So I'm with you, brother. Next up, we've got Solstice Studios, who gifted 5 WDW Pro memberships. Thank
Hey.
you, Solstice. Thank you very much for that. We always appreciate when you're spreading the memberships out. We love having people join the channel, and becoming a member gives you access to a lot of special features that aren't there normally. One that I like to talk up is that I get together with Lou Wasserman's Ghost and Hangry Tables for the Genre Guys. We do movie reviews, usually older stuff, but things that we think are movies that in most cases should be in your collection. Sometimes we do some bad movies. Those are usually selected by Hangry, but we have fun with that. There's also the Lost Guys that you can access on the channel, which has got Trish and Martin and Nolan and Hangry joins them as well. So if you guys are inclined to check out that content, it's a lot of fun. Um, but in any case, if any of you people out there did get the memberships, be sure to thank Solstice Studios for that. Very generous. I see also that the gameplay stream just ended, and we have some people joining us. Thank you for the raid. We're going to get into our main stories now. Our first one for the night is Bob Iger reportedly axed the hunt for Ben Solo without even reviewing the budget. Is Disney done with sequel era Star Wars? And I think
Honestly, Lauren, I thought that this story 100% proves your theory correct.
I have had no doubt, just because the last year has been especially silent. And if you paid attention to what they were talking about, you could see they're starting to pivot. They're starting to do something. I'm still not sure how far they're going to go with that, but I think The Mandalorian and Grogu and Starfighter are going to tell us an awful lot because I am convinced Starfighter's an experiment. They're trying to see, can we do something in a post sequel trilogy era that doesn't touch anything else, that is an entirely self contained story? And I think the answer is actually going to be no, you can't. I think they're going to try, and I think it will probably be better than what they have
Yeah.
produced before, but it's still going to be attached to that sequel era, and I think the audience is going to reject it, and I think that's
Yep.
going to be the final straw. Um, Disney's decision to shut down the hunt for Ben Solo is raising new questions about the company's long-term strategy for the Star Wars sequel era, and whether the studio has quietly moved on from those characters altogether. According to director Steven Soderbergh, the proposed film starring Adam Driver's Kylo Ren slash Ben Solo was scrapped before it ever reached meaningful financial discussions. Speaking in a recent interview, Soderbergh made clear that the creative team had invested significant unpaid time into developing the project, only for it to be rejected over a story concern.
By the way, be mad at Kathleen Kennedy over this, not Disney. There's lots of reason to be mad at Disney, but Kathleen Kennedy shouldn't have had you working on this for 2 years if she had not already cleared this.
Well, the way I understood it is that I think they did it independently. I don't think that they brought it to her until it was done. So
Mm.
to me, that's on them. We were all frustrated, Soderbergh said. You know, that was 2.5 years of free work for me and Adam and writer Rebecca Blunt.
That you
When
chose to
Adam
do.
when Adam and I discussed him talking about it publicly, I said, "Look, do not editorialize or speculate about the why. Just say what happened because all we know is what happened." The stated reason was, "We don't think Ben Solo could be alive." He can't. And that was all we were told. And so there's nothing to do about it, except move on.
And that right there is the proof that they heard sequel era character and they said no.
Yep.
Because look, we are about to have a cartoon series about Darth Maul who was literally chopped in half. So they and somehow Palpatine returned and Max Rebo's alive after blowing up in the
You know,
sail barge. Like death is a very reversible thing in Star Wars. They could have found a way to bring him back, world between worlds, whatever. But Disney just didn't want to hear it because they were just like, we're not doing this again.
the Max Rebo thing I actually agree with because it is kind of funny. I like that one.
I
Um,
love that one, and I hope we never get an explanation as to how it happened.
I agree with you. I would love it if he just keeps popping up in various places where disasters occur
Yep.
and
And then
off
it's fine.
screen. Yeah. The comment is notable not just for the frustration expressed, but for what it implies. Disney reportedly shut the project down at the conceptual level rather than evaluating it as a potential production. One of the more surprising revelations from Soderbergh's comments is that cost discussions never meaningfully occurred. According to the filmmaker, he expected the conversation to resolve around practical concerns, particularly the film's budget, and believed he had a strong answer prepared. Instead, the project was rejected outright over the narrative premise. That kind of early
Which maybe
stage
means that they should have mentioned this to Bob before they started working on it for 2 years.
I think, this is my own personal opinion. I have nothing to back this up. This is part of why I think they did this independently, is that that's the way that Adam Driver talked about it. He made it sound like they got together secretly, and I think they thought, I actually think Adam Driver's got a pretty level head on his shoulders, and I think that he was frustrated that he felt like they had produced a bad trilogy. And I think he wanted to try and do something to redeem it and the character so that it wasn't necessarily a stain. And I think going to Steven Soderbergh's actually a pretty smart idea. The guy is a really good screenwriter. And I think they thought that was the thing that was going to overcome the objection. It's going to be, look, we've written what we think is a stellar script by a man who essentially volunteered to do it. I think this is how they described what Jon Favreau did with The Mandalorian. And I think they thought they were going to be able to replicate that. We'll have this big name writer, producer, director come and talk to Lucasfilm and say, look, we have something for you that we think you're going to want, because honestly, it would have lined up with their strategy. They want to push the sequel trilogy. And they thought that was going to be enough to overcome the objection. But Disney had already made the decision, we are not touching any of this anymore.
Yeah.
It's too radioactive. That kind of early stage shutdown is unusual for a franchise property of Star Wars scale, where development conversations typically involve extensive financial modeling before final decisions are made. While Disney has not publicly stated the broader strategy shift, the cancellation of The Hunt for Ben Solo fits into a larger pattern that has fans raising eyebrows. Most notably, the Rey-focused New Jedi Order film remains stuck in development limbo years after its announcement. No major project centered on sequel-era characters has successfully moved into production. Lucasfilm's recent momentum has focused more heavily on earlier timeline content, the Mandalorian era and prequel-adjacent stories.
The only character from the prequels that has popped up in anything has been Babu Frick.
Not even him. It's Anzellans. It's not Babu Frick himself. You could say Cad Bane has made an appearance.
But he's not a sequel character.
No. But I'm sorry. I thought that you were talking about prequel era stuff.
I'm sorry. If I said prequel, I meant to say sequel.
Any of the other sequel characters? Let me think. Has anybody turned up? I
thought that Babu Frick was in Mando season 3, but I guess that wasn't him.
He is. No, it's not him. It's just it's a bunch of Anzellans, and actually we see them in the Mandalorian and Grogu trailer as well. I guess it's possible that it's Babu Frick, but if so, I don't think that they identified him as such. So, and this gets into
kind
the
of
weird.
Like how, remember in the sequels they refused to say anything from the prequels, and even in Mando season, was it 1? They were like M count instead of saying midichlorians. Like they just would not reference the prequels at all.
Well, I actually kind of like that because they created some interesting new lore. Okay, we're going to get off onto a sidetrack here, but
fine.
In each of the projects that they were trying to put together, they were trying to explore one of the explanations for how Palpatine returned. Dark science, what was it? Dark science, cloning technology, secrets only the Sith knew. And each of those story branches was touching on one of those things. And what I liked about the pseudoscience that they were talking about in The Mandalorian was that they were basically talking about real-world stuff, but given a Star Wars spin. When they were talking about generating a new host off of a DNA sample, which is what they're trying to do with Grogu's blood, they called it a strand cast. It's not a clone, it's a strand cast, and that is the Star Wars way of talking about DNA manipulation. Um, Cloning is obviously a real world thing, and that has already been established in Star Wars lore long, long ago. Secrets Only the Sith Knew has more to do with Sith alchemy and the fusing of magic and science to somehow explain how Palpatine returned. They
Mm-hmm.
were trying to lend some legitimacy to that awful, awful line by building a backstory. This is
Shame
essentially.
on you, J.J. Abrams, for writing that. Like, how did anyone think that was okay? Somehow Palpatine returned.
I don't think even JJ thought it was okay. I don't know if you remember, but before the movie released, there was a disastrous cast interview that JJ was at, and he said himself, a lot of people may not like this movie. I might even agree with you. Do you remember that?
I don't remember that.
He said that. That
Uh,
was that was I don't think JJ was happy with the final project. And you'll
how
notice
could you be?
he
I mean, but
he's
he
got
swore up and down in interviews that Palpatine being alive was always the plan. And I'm like, you are lying through your teeth.
He absolutely was. But you'll notice that he has gone absolutely radio silent ever since. Part of that is because the industry hasn't been using him for anything, but part of it is, I think, is also smart strategy on his part. I don't think he wants to defend that movie. I don't think he was defending it when it was out. I think he took on the job reluctantly. He took the money. I think he knew that he had a butchered mess on his hands that nobody could fix.
The
But they,
worst thing that he did though to the movie industry that is still happening today is unleash the smaller hacks that all fell off of him onto the
oh
movie
yeah,
world, like
yeah,
Kurtzman and Benioff and Weiss. Like all of his little JJ disciples are ruining other IPs in other areas. And you know, JJ did the big one; he did Star Wars, but yeah, they Bad
and Star
Robot is
Trek.
yeah. And he did, though I would say his Star Trek movies did not ruin Star Trek. It was off in its own little timeline. It was whatever. Like what Kurtzman is done is that's ruining that has
Now,
ruined Star Trek.
I will say I liked his first Star Trek movie,
I did too.
and I sort of liked the third one, although he didn't direct that one. He was the producer.
Simon Pegg,
I
I think, wrote that one, and it was like it felt like an episode of Star Trek.
Yeah, it went a little over the top in a couple of areas. I didn't like the villain. I didn't like Idris Elba's character, but that was a writing problem. That wasn't any problem with Idris Elba.
Yeah.
I hated Into Darkness. I could not stand Into Darkness.
The way you should have done Into Darkness to make it work is that it wasn't Khan Noonien Singh. It was like his 5-star general who was worse than him and was only like reined in by Khan. And now with Khan not being there, you've got this crazed guy from that war who is doing lots. But they had to just remake Wrath of Khan essentially.
In reverse. Yeah, I just that one really turned my stomach.
Oh, you don't
The
like Spock yelling Khan?
I do not. And there is one other JJ movie that I actually like, and that is Super 8. That is again him aping Spielberg, but I actually thought that he made a pretty decent movie with Super 8. Nobody ever talks about it, but I think that at least it was a competent movie, which I don't think you can say about a lot of his others. He's a great mimic. In The Force Awakens, he aped George's style of cinematography and editing and all the
Yeah.
wipes and dissolves perfectly. It looked like something George would have shot.
And
But
I gave them a lot of credit for not a lot of over reliance on CGI. There was a lot of creatures created and a lot of practical effects. I liked that, but man,
yep, he just didn't have the juice. Um, Taken together, it's reasonable to theorize that Disney may have cooled on continuing the sequel trilogy storyline in a major way. That's an understatement,
mm-hmm.
particularly if executives believe audience enthusiasm is stronger elsewhere in the timeline. Importantly, this remains an unconfirmed corporate strategy, but the pattern is becoming harder to ignore.
Yeah, I wanted to really hammer it home that like this should not have been a problem for them. They just don't want to make a movie about Ben Solo. And this film, I still guarantee you this movie gets made because this film is such manufactured. It's such a manufactured fan uprising that they're convincing people that people want this movie, but I legitimately don't think people do, other
I,
than like the worst of the worst Raylos on Twitter.
I disagree with you. This movie will not be made. I'll put money down on it. I'll make that bet. I think that's what they hoped was going to happen when they put it out there. I think that's why they put it out there. But I think that
Well,
Disney
but
had.
now Josh is in charge, not Bob. What if Josh okays it?
I don't think it matters. I think they have recognized that they have done what is likely irreparable harm to the brand. I think they are now desperately trying to figure out, is the patient um, terminal, or can we save some of the can we amputate the limbs and possibly save the body? You know, if you get what I mean. I think they still have a question because, again, I'm going to go back to the AI videos. They know there is fan interest in Star Wars. As black-pilled as people are, they still want good Star Wars. The problem is that Disney can't define good Star Wars. They don't know what good Star Wars is. And so they know that there's a demand. They just don't know how to serve it. And that's why I think the best thing they could do is license it out to third parties.
Dave
Give it to some.
Filoni is the head of Lucasfilm now. I mean, you're just going to get Dave Filoni Star Wars now. That's all you're going to get.
That's why I think we're still getting the Mandalorian and Grogu, and that's why we're getting Starfighter. I think this is A and B testing. I think they're seeing, does one movie do well? Do both movies do well? Does one do better than the other? Does one do well enough that we can continue along those threads? And if the answer is no to both of them, both are stopped dead in their tracks.
Well,
And then
and
they
I
do
think
it.
I think that Starfleet Academy almost is a litmus test for Star Wars, because what you're seeing is they did what people are saying that Star Wars should do, is go forward 1,000 years in the future, and it's just been an unmitigated disaster.
You can't. It's. I'm not one of those people that says that you have to have a Skywalker in the Star Wars movies. I don't think that's necessarily true, but you've got to be in the ballpark about what the message is, and they don't understand the message. They see it as a platform for their ideology, and that's never what Star Wars was about. Star Wars, yes, George is liberal, and he was telling a story that he saw as a cautionary tale about politicians and how they can be corrupt and how they can corrupt a republic. And it was also a story from his perspective about a mechanized military and how primitive tactics can be used against them to overthrow them. That was a Vietnam allegory for him, but
I
that
think
wasn't.
the
Go ahead.
prequels definitely got into some Bush era stuff too. Like Anakin saying, "If you're not with me, you're my enemy." I'm pretty sure Bush said that about
Yes.
the Iraq War, and Obi-Wan being like, "Only a Sith deals in absolutes." I was just like, "That's George doing That's George doing more heavy-handing political commentary than we've ever seen in Star Wars before or since."
Well, he also had characters named Newt Gunray and Lot Dodd. He wasn't exactly subtle about it.
Wait,
But
I don't get it.
are you being serious or
Yeah,
sarcastic
no,
right
I'm
now?
being serious.
Okay. Lott and Dodd were Republican senators, and Newt Gunray is a play on Newt Gingrich
Oh, okay, that makes
and
sense.
and Ronald Reagan. He was taking their names and just twisting them into Nemoidians. So don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that George himself does not have a liberal slant, but he was telling a story in such a neutral way that it could apply to any political ideology, and that's part of
Right.
why it did appeal to everybody. He was clever enough. It's in the prequels. You're absolutely right. He was a lot less subtle, but it was the kind of gag that it's like you kind of get it. It's like I don't think anybody on any side of the political spectrum really likes their politicians. Congress is one of the most hated institutions on the face of the planet, and there's a reason for it. So it does make sense to take the piss out of the politicians, and I believe that's really what George was trying to do. He was, in a broader sense, he was saying, look, paying attention to history is important. Study your history, be knowledgeable about it, pay attention to your politicians, hold them accountable, because if you don't, bad things happen. And that is a truism, no matter which side of the political spectrum that you're on. So
Mhm.
I
I think
think.
you know what George was really just kind of getting into the politics of George wasn't getting into identity politics. I think that was the thing. Like George's politics were like geopolitics.
Mhm.
He
Well,
wasn't
well,
getting into like the identity focused stuff the way Disney does.
well, personally, internally, I think that he was. But I'm talking about an actual personal identity, in that he very clearly felt that Emperor Palpatine was Richard Nixon. He was very clear about that.
Mm-hmm.
But that's his leaning, and that's fine. Allegorically, the story works no matter who you're framing it as, because Star Wars never really got that deep into what the corruption was, just that these people are corrupt. Um, and I would also say, while George is a student and a fan of history, when it comes to his understanding of economics and how these things would work in the real world, he's an atrocious student. So the Star Wars galaxy would never work in practice. Um, but anyway, we've gone off on
Have
several
you ever
tangents.
like stopped to consider just the logistics of Coruscant?
Oh yeah, yeah. Can you even begin to imagine the power necessary to power that planet?
An
Water,
entire planet is
food.
one city.
Yeah, yeah. It never worked, but it's not supposed to. That's part of the fun. Um. Anyway, the specific reasoning cited that Disney leadership did not believe Ben Solo could plausibly be alive is itself notable, given Star Wars' long history of resurrected characters and creative retcons. Within the franchise, deaths have often proven flexible when a compelling story opportunity emerges. That makes the decision feel less like a hard lore limitation and more like a strategic choice about where Lucasfilm wants to invest its resources moving forward. For now, the hunt for Ben Solo appears firmly shelved, and there have been no indication from Disney or Lucasfilm that the project will be revived. Meanwhile, the Rey film remains officially in development but continues to lack firm production movement, further fueling speculation about the studio's confidence in sequel-era storytelling. Whether this represents a temporary pause or a broader pivot away from the sequel timeline remains to be seen. But if Soderbergh's comments are any indication, the creative team behind The Hunt for Ben Solo believed they had a story worth telling, even if Disney never wanted to see the price tag.
It's just so funny to me that they just never even like you want to do a movie Hunt for Ben Solo? No.
Well, it's not as though the audience has not been expressing their displeasure for nearly a decade.
I don't even think it was Bob Iger that said it. I think it was probably Alan Bergman, because Alan Bergman was the one that pulled the plug on the Acolyte.
Well, I don't think it even matters. I think the point is that my opinion is that once the Acolyte was so roundly rejected,
Mm-hmm.
that was the point where they said enough. In my opinion, I am convinced that was the straw that broke the camel's back. That was Kathy's big gamble. I think she believed she was going to be able to make this the linchpin of all of their storytelling. This was going to be her idealized version of what Star Wars should be.
Mm-hmm.
And the audience said, absolutely not, to such a degree that all of the partners for Lucasfilm finally turned to them. It's not like they had been quiet about their displeasure with sales either, but I think that all of the partner merchandise creators, they basically said to Lucas or to Disney and said, you need to stop this, because we don't even want your license anymore. It is costing us more to license this property. We are losing money producing your toys,
Oh yeah,
producing your.
Hasbro has been just terrible.
Yeah, yeah, and it's like, yeah, I don't know if I mean, we're not world class BSers, you know. That guy goes and he looks on all the store shelves and everything, but I can see it in my own. It used to be, if you went to Walmart when they had a movie coming out, there was an entire row of shelves of
Oh yeah.
stuff. They've had Lando peg warmers. That's pretty much all they have there now, and a couple of lightsabers for months. I think the only thing that is getting any traction now is I don't remember what they call them now, but it's the revival of kind of the micro machine ships. Those are
Mm-hmm.
pretty cool, but I don't think anything else is selling. And I think that Disney finally said, "All right, we're pulling the plug on this crap."
And you know what? It's like the people like for Star Trek right now who are like, well, what do you want for them to not make Star Wars anymore? And the yes,
Yeah,
your
yeah,
terms
that's
are acceptable.
yeah, and I thought that story was actually really interesting because it tells you how desperate they're becoming. They know the writing's on the wall now, and they're trying to hold the gun to the head of the thing that you want, saying, "Well, if you don't give us what we want, you're probably not going to get what you want." It's like at this point, it's like, want to bet? We're the consumer. We're the ones with the money. We're the ones with the money that you want. If you don't want to produce what we want, then we're not going to buy what you produce.
Yep.
We're perfectly willing to turn loose of cash for things that we want. That's what the audience is saying. And it's saying it not just in these franchises, but pretty much everywhere else these days. I don't know if you've been following on YouTube, but there's all kinds of movements that are starting that are basically saying boycott everything that is not producing the thing that you want. And I
Mm-hmm.
think that is probably the right attitude to take.
I mean,
They love to refer to us as consumers, as though they are shoveling their slop into our bowl and we're going to take it. We are not consumers, we're customers. We get to tell you what we want. If you're not willing to provide it, we will go where we can get it. And that is also why the AI thing is such a big deal. If you're not providing it, we will. And that's the thing they're seeing. That is the thing that is forcing them to act, is that they know there is still a demand. I think that's been the big question mark in their head, is that if we walk away from this, is there anything left? And I think the AI question is answering yes, but only if you seize upon what the audience wants.
well, and that's the thing. Like with Star Trek, it's kind of like, well, like the guy's like, well, it might go away for 10 or 15 years. And everyone's like, good, it needs to.
Yep,
And it's how can I miss you if you won't go away?
yep.
It Star Wars, didn't have a movie for how long? 10 years between Revenge of the Sith and The Force
The Force
Awakens.
Awakens, yep.
And when that came back, man, that did gangbuster numbers because people missed Star Wars and people didn't like the prequels. But people, then again, the prequels did stick the landing though with Revenge of the Sith.
Well, it's also important to remember that that critical reevaluation that took place in the prequels only happened after the sequels.
Yeah.
People were excited about the sequels because at the time the prequels were reviled.
Mm-hmm.
And they really did think when that line came out that said this will begin to make things right, the audience believed it. They actually thought that the problem might have been George. And I think there were some reasons for that.
Have you ever seen the documentary The People versus George Lucas?
Oh, yes, absolutely.
It's just an entire documentary about how George Lucas and his fans hate each other.
It's a love-hate relationship. It's like I I had some real problems with the prequels when they came out. I really, really did. I still think that there are problems with the prequels. But after seeing the sequels, the problems with the prequels are acceptable.
Yeah.
It's like, and we
I
didn't know
long
that
for
at
the
the
day
time.
when those were our problems.
Yeah, yeah, and a lot of the reason that the prequels originally received that pushback, it was not just a generational thing. It was that you've got to understand there was 16 years between Return of the Jedi and The Phantom Menace. And in that time, everybody had built in their head what they thought the prequels were going to be. And what George gave us was something radically different. Now, it's like back then there was no concept of something like a Jedi Council. The idea at the time seemed radical and ludicrous. What's this about a Jedi Council?
Mm-hmm.
And then the idea that there were Darths, that Darth was a title, not a name. Now that is just you know that now. But back then nobody knew that. That was radical. I still take issue with altering the ages of Anakin and Obi-Wan. I think that caused some storytelling problems. And I think there was not necessarily a compelling reason to do that, but that's what he did. I understand what he was trying to do. I'm not sure that he stuck that. But ultimately, it doesn't matter. I think one of the most amazing things that happened with the prequels that I will bet money will not happen with the sequels is that as an original trilogy fan, when the prequel trilogy came out, I had some big problems with it. I was one of those guys that was pretty hostile to it. But the fans came around. The generation that those movies were made for embraced them and loved them more than the original trilogy. And that
Mhm.
is an impressive feat. George is almost always ahead of the audience. That will not happen with the sequel trilogy. We're already 10 years on, and there has been no serious critical reevaluation of those movies. And the reason is they suck.
And the
They have
press
the
has tried, the media has tried to like be like, oh, we're starting to see more people liking the sequels. And like, no, we're not. They
no.
don't.
No, and it's not going to happen. They failed a generational capture. And if you don't believe that, all you have to do is look at the sales numbers. All you have to do is look at how much merchandise has been moving. And the answer is none. The only thing that still really sells is the Lego sets. And even those are getting worse now. And part of that is just due to the fact that they're so expensive. They're having to find creative ways to try and sell you less for more,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't think even that's working out so well anymore. So it
No.
would not surprise me if the license gets dropped at some point in the near future, unless something radical changes.
Could you imagine Hasbro dropping Star Wars, like a toy company dropping the Star Wars line? I've never in a million years would assume that that would happen.
They can't continue to lose money. I mean, at a certain point, it becomes a critical mass kind of thing. Now, I do want to pivot a little bit here because I sent you a link yesterday that was a documentary link for an interview with Anthony Daniels. Did you
Yeah.
actually watch that?
I did not get a chance to watch the whole thing. No.
Okay, so this is coming from an outfit called Nacelle, I believe is what they're called. Um, there are some issues with the editing of the interview, and they've actually done another one I saw with Marsha Lucas. Each of these is like 3 hours long,
Hmm.
and there's some fascinating insights in there. The issues with editing, it's like I think actually he probably should not have put these up because at one point I I kind of hesitate to mention this, but I feel like I have to if anybody in the audience is going to go seek these out. Anthony Daniels has to get up for a bio break, and he's still mic'd up, and so you basically hear everything. It's like that scene in The Naked Gun,
Could
you
you
know.
imagine? You just hear like, oh
Well,
goodness gracious me!
it's not that, but it's. I was a little surprised that it went out like that, but
Oh dear, that Taco Bell was a mistake. Went right through me.
Getting aside from that, though, there are some fascinating insights into the process. I had known that Anthony Daniels was actually very hurt by how he was treated by George in some ways during the making of the movies, and he talks a little bit about some of that. Um, it's kind of interesting because his relationship with the movies is a little more fraught than I thought because he's been one of those cheerleaders for Star Wars. He's the
Well,
guy
I mean,
who's the
he's
MC
always
at
done
all.
anything Star Wars. You would have, no matter what it was, Anthony Daniels would show up to play C-3PO, whether it was a video game, whether it was an audiobook. He used to do all the audiobooks back in the day.
Yeah. Yeah, and so it was and I see here that Karen Owen is saying that Nacelle is the production company that did the recent series Icons Uncovered. Yes, and that is the interview I'm talking about. That interview
I
is
was
on the
like,
extras of the
oh dear,
Blu-ray.
that one was bigger than Kenny Baker.
Come on, Marv. Trying to be serious here.
I know,
Um,
but like just imagining, like you shouldn't have led with him in the bathroom.
well, in any case, there are some fascinating insights in there.
So
It's worth a watch if
what was
you.
wrong with the way George treated him? I always thought him and George had a good relationship.
A lot of it has to do with the fact that George is just not good with actors. You know,
Mm.
working with actors, directing actors is his least favorite part of the process. He likes having all of the stuff shot and then being able to edit it into what he wants. He likes playing with it and changing it and doing all of that stuff. And actors are people, and people have opinions, and he doesn't care about their opinions. You know, he sees them as just the tools he has to work with. And he was hurt that when Tony was originally on the set, you know, he was in the costume, and this was a bizarre situation. It was a very low budget film. It was in Tunisia in horrible conditions. Nobody understood the script. Nobody thought this was ever going to be anything of a movie. And he's trying to get through this dialogue in a suit where he can't see and he can't hear and he can't get the lines right. And George is getting angrier and angrier at him. And finally, George comes up to him and says, "Look, say anything. It doesn't matter what you say. The lines don't matter." And to Tony, that was kind of a slap in the face. He's an actor trying to do the job, and to him, it's
Mhm.
like he needs to understand this stuff. And then later on, I'm sure that originally George tried to overdub him. He wanted to have somebody else do. You didn't know this.
Didn't know that.
George did not see 3PO as a British butler. He actually saw him as. This is the weird thing. I've never understood this, but it's true. He saw him as a sleazy used car salesman, and he wanted that to be the personality of 3PO. And what he was getting with Anthony Daniels was this prim and proper British butler. And the reason this doesn't make sense to me is that 3PO is a protocol droid. It's like
Yeah,
that's his
they
purpose is
are butlers. That's their thing.
it's etiquette and protocol in diplomatic relations between nations and worlds. You would expect it to be a prim and proper kind of a person. But George expected used car salesman. And he went and he had everybody in Hollywood dubbed for this part, including Mel Blanc. And Mel Blanc finally said to him, "George, the performance is fine. Why don't you go with the guy who matches the performance?" And George reluctantly did. And
So he wanted him
Tony,
to basically just be David Prowse,
yes, yeah.
who, by the way,
And,
George also hated.
and Anthony was hurt by all of that. And that hurt was compounded by the fact that when the original movies came out, him and Kenny Baker weren't really credited. They didn't do press, they didn't talk about it, they weren't allowed to because they wanted to sell the fiction that 3PO and R2 were actually real robots. They were kind of selling this until Return of the Jedi, and it wasn't until then that they allowed them to start doing interviews and
Mhm.
things. And so Anthony felt that the main cast got elevated. Luke and Mark and Carrie, they all went off and they became rich and famous, while he was just viewed as the guy in the suit. And as it turns out, I didn't know this. He did not get the big deal that everybody else got. He did not get
Really?
the quarter point on the back end. He was reluctant to talk about it during the interview, but he said, what they paid me was £250 a week for 4 weeks, or for I guess it was 12 weeks,
On the
three
first
months.
film.
3 months, yeah. And so he basically made £3,000 for the first movie and didn't get points on the back end. So you can understand why he's a little salty.
Well,
And
he's made his money though because he charges more. At Star Wars Celebration, an autograph and picture with him was more than one with Mark Hamill.
don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that the man is hurting, but it was interesting to gain some additional insights because I had heard some of this throughout the years, but I didn't understand the full context. And I think some of it is maybe him. I think maybe holding on to some things that maybe he ought to let go. But when I try and put my head into the mind of an actor who's trying very hard to act, and he's actually acting his heart out and in some truly awful conditions, I get it. He was trying to do a job and nobody looked at him as an actor.
Yeah.
And
I don't understand where he gets off trying to charge more than Mark Hamill, who famously hoses everybody with high prices.
the one story I can tell you about Anthony Daniels is I actually got to meet him briefly. I was at the first Star Wars celebration, and he talks about that. And it was a miserable experience. This was the first time they had ever done a big Star Wars convention. It was prior to the release of Episode One. I went with friends, and I was so excited to be there. But on there were a couple of things that were interesting about that weekend. First was that it was Denver, Colorado. It was in an airfield there, and the heavens opened up, and it was cold and rainy the entire time.
Mm.
They had far oversold the number of tickets that were logical for the venue that they were at, so people were stuck outside in this awful muck and rain and wet. It was miserable. The other thing that happened that same weekend was actually the Columbine. Uh,
Oh
uh,
gosh.
yeah, so it was a weird weekend. But the thing that I remember most about it is the whole reason that I wanted to be there was because again, this was prior to the release of Episode One, and we knew that they were going to be showing some footage there that had not been shown in the trailers, and we were going to get some first looks at some stuff if you could just get into the tent. And the friends that I went with were so miserable that they wanted to. After the first day, they were done. They didn't want to be there anymore.
Mm.
They stayed there because of me, and they knew how important it was to me. And so they stayed there with me despite the fact that they were miserable. And what I remember is everybody was in a bad mood. Everybody was in a bad mood. You'd paid all this money to go there. Half of the things you couldn't get into. It was wet. It was cold. It was miserable. Nobody was happy. As I was standing in this long line that I'd been standing in for hours, this guy taps me on the shoulder and he says, "Hey, do you mind if I cut in line?" And at this point, you're in a bad mood. And I wheeled on this guy, and there standing in front of me was Anthony Daniels in his gold jacket. And that's what he was doing. He was out there amongst the lines, around the crowd, talking to people, keeping people's spirits up. And I'll never forget that. I actually got to ask him a question during one of the panels as well, which was really cool. I was wondering at the time whether they were going to do radio drama adaptations of the prequel movies, which they never actually did. But
Mm.
I got to ask that at a panel. What I remember about the guy though is that he was a soldier. He was out there trying to keep everybody's spirits up. He didn't have to do that. You know,
Right.
he's a movie star and he's talent and he could have easily stayed in one of those tents and been warm and taken care of, but he was out there with the fans and that meant more to me than I could possibly express to the man. The man's a class act. I like it. So um anyway,
We might want to just move into our main topic now because it's already midnight.
it is. And I think this is one of the great things about actually Trish not feeling well tonight is we got to have a whole hour of Star Wars conversation that she couldn't avoid because she had to listen to the stream, and
Mm-hmm.
yet we still got to talk about it. How you doing, Trish?
Oh, hi. I was muting one other thing, and then I'm like, I come back and I see me on the thing. I was like, oh, of course. I was trying to be all ready, and then I'm not ready when the moment calls. But hi, everybody.
How you feeling, kid?
Not that great, but enough to get through. I didn't want to skip. I've done every year, and there was movies this year. I'm kind of like you, Marv, where there were ones like I really wanted to talk about them.
Yeah.
So
Totally
here I
understand.
am.
Just to bring the audience back up to speed, and thank you for indulging us in Star Wars talk for an hour. That was probably excessive, but it was fun. We're talking about movies of 1995. We're going to do Trish's picks first, and then we're going to outro her so she can get back to taking care of herself. Trish, your first one.
I don't know if Marv wanted to put this on his or not.
Was on my list, and
It
Lorn
was on-
took it away to give to you.
It's becoming a thing now. I'm like, I'm gonna beat him to it. More it didn't appeal to me as much as Clerks. I don't know if that's a hot take or not, but like, what about you, Marv? Do you like this one better or
Better than Clerks? No. It's a
Okay.
very different kind of movie.
it is, but I feel like
Like-
with Kevin Smith movies, no matter how different they all are, you're kind of like, well, can't help but compare them.
I mean, I would say it's probably my second favorite after Clerks. I love the Stan Lee stuff is great. I love I love LaFours and his stupid hat. Like the Jay and Silent Bob versus LaFours thing is one of my favorite things. The running gag with the sailboat is, I think, one of the funniest gags that Kevin Smith has ever written.
A schooner is a sailboat.
With Ethan Suplee in the sailboat.
Yeah, it's one of those things where I don't know if it's so much lines that you reference as it is just moments. Like stink palming and whatnot. It's just
Yeah.
This
Well, when
movie's
I was going to propose
absurd.
to my wife, somebody would inevitably make the comment like, "Just bring her to Universal and propose when Jaws pops out of the water."
Ugh. Now you're making me. This is what happens sometimes. We talk about movies, and I'm like, I kind of want to watch them now.
Yeah, I do want to watch this one again.
Well,
But
that's part-
Yeah,
That's part of the fun of doing this series is that we're reminding the audience that these exist, and if you haven't seen them, they're worth a watch. This is part of the fun.
It's great poster art too.
it is really good poster art. I love it. I mean, Jay and Silent Bob are. This is probably my favorite Jay and Silent Bob appearance because they're amazing in this movie. The only other one that they might be better in is Clerks 2. Because they are really funny in Clerks 2.
I can't tell if liking Clerks 2 is another one of those hot takes or not. I feel like I see mixed
I feel like
things.
everyone likes Clerks 2, don't they? Like
I don't know.
Clerks 2 is more of like a classic comedy because it's really funny.
I hear some people say they don't like it at all, and then other people
Really?
say they love it. Like I really like Clerks 2.
Oh, I think it's fantastic. It's
Yeah.
like I laughed so hard at Clerks 2 at the end when they're with the donkey. Like,
let's just stop there.
yeah, no, I'm not gonna go any further with that, but I was like crying laughing during that scene. Especially like when the cop comes in and he sees what's written on the back of Randall's shirt. I was just
I'm taking it back.
Yep. The entire conversation of the Lord of the Rings versus the Transformers, I was like, this is perfect. I mean, look, I wasn't at first I was really taken aback by the fact that it was in a fast food restaurant and not the Quick Stop.
Yeah.
But did you see Clerks 3?
I did not see Clerks 3.
I don't know how I feel about Clerks 3. I only saw it the one time. It made me cry because it's ridiculously sad.
I don't think I want a Kevin Smith movie to make me cry, honestly.
Yeah, I didn't either. And it's just like it's Kevin Smith's ode to himself, basically. It's like
well,
it's essentially the story of how they
resist?
made the first Clerks.
Oh, okay.
Coupled with Kevin Smith's heart attack.
It's yeah.
Because the point is Randall has the same heart attack that Kevin Smith had. And then when he survives it, he decides he wants to make a movie and he's going to shoot the movie in the convenience store. And so they basically make the first Clerks. And like Dante is all mad because like in the original ending, he gets shot. He's like, you can't kill me in the first, like, because there was a whole thing in the original ending of Clerks was that Dante gets shot.
Yeah.
And they made him thank God they made him change it. Though I think there is like a subtle like it makes sense when he gets shot at the end of the film, because I'm like, my first thought when I saw that, I said, oh my gosh, he wasn't even supposed to be here today.
I was just gonna say that.
But yeah, like apparently they said to him, like, you have to change that ending.
I think that was the right call. Yeah. Okay, this is the one movie that I put on here that is not, I don't actually think is good, but I couldn't not put it on here because it's a terrible Halloween movie with the Curse of the Black Thorn, I believe it's called. I mean, oh god, it has a young Paul Rudd in it. It's just, this movie's just a mess, and it was the one. I swear this was the straw that broke the camel's back, where they were like, we have to do something, and thus Halloween H2O was born. Because they were traveling down a road with this one that was just bug nuts. Yuck. Yeah, thank you, Mark. Yes, exactly. But I couldn't not. I feel like, if nothing else, Kevin would have gotten upset that I didn't put this on here. So it's kind of, think of it as a joint pick for both myself and Kevin. But there's not much to say about it except the fact that it's terrible. So yeah. Okay, I love this movie.
I kept this off my list because I figured you were going to put this on yours.
I love this movie. I think that the premise is so clever. It's so memorable. Oh, the one with the air fresheners in the room. Forgive me if my brain is a little slow. All the air fresheners. Just and I will say though, I actually really like Brad Pitt on the whole, but his acting in the What's in the Box scene, so bad. Not his finest hour, and it is totally justified that people make fun of it.
As Gal Gadot going, Kal-El, no.
It's so bad. Like, we couldn't get another take out of Brad Pitt.
Like
for that.
Not I think Morgan. I can't imagine Morgan Freeman standing there during that scene be like, "Are we not going to take that one again? Are we really leaving it at this? This is how we're ending this film."
But yeah, Clueless. This is
I knew
my
this was going to be on your list.
yes. This is Trish's female pick. I always have to have at least one. If you were in a certain age bracket at this time and you were female or perhaps gay, I would think, you watched and loved this movie. Once again, with Paul Rudd in it. So 1995 was quite the year for Paul Rudd.
Isn't Turk in this?
Yes, Turk is in this.
I love that.
Spotted the gay guy.
No, I'd have never seen the movie. I just know that Turk from Scrubs is in it.
That took me a second.
Oh,
Hey, no judgment, Marv.
walk right into that one.
Damn it, Lauren. Anyway, I doubt that the audience wants to hear me talk too much about Clueless anyway, but this movie is tremendous, and I think no matter what level of fashion lover a woman is, I think she still wishes that she had Cher's closet.
Well,
Where's that
one of the
her
things
outfit?
one of the things that I love with all of these films and these posters is seeing what the tagline is. This is a dumb tagline. Is there a problem here? Like, come on, that's a.
You think it should
tagline.
be as if?
Is it? I don't know. Maybe. But
She says.
I
Oh yeah, you have. You mean to tell me you've never heard about how they always say "as if" in this movie? You knew about Turk, but you haven't heard of "as."
I knew
if.
about Turk because they talk about it on Fake Doctors, Real Friends occasionally. Like Zach Braff always makes jokes about Clueless.
That's why,
Yep.
Lauren.
That's the reason why. No other reason whatsoever.
Mhm.
Ugh. Okay, Tommy Boy. This is one of the movies. This might make me snort laugh. Why I was like, I have to talk about 1995. I've lost count of the amount of times I've watched Tommy Boy. And it's funny. Like I had an old job. It was like a meeting going on, and my supervisor was like a pinch older than me, and he made a Tommy Boy reference, and I was the only person in the room who understood it. And I just started laughing out loud. And I think he was so happy that there was somebody in the room who understood what he was doing. I can't listen to Superstar by the Carpenters without thinking of this movie. I don't understand why when they show it on TV, they cut out the best scene of fat guy in a little coat. If you're going to cut something out of this to make room for commercials, I don't understand cutting out fat guy in a little coat. I think that's the scene everybody knows from this. Have you two seen this movie?
No.
I'm the only one who's.
I mean, I like the fact that like these SNL cast members who were all friends like made these movies together, like David Spade, Chris Farley, and then like having Adam Sandler and some like. Originally when Grown Ups was written, I'd heard that the Kevin James role was originally intended for Chris Farley.
That would make sense.
It would make sense because he's the only one that's not from that SNL cast because it's Adam Sandler, David Spade, and Chris Rock.
Didn't that movie come out way after Chris Farley passed away?
It did, but like
Long time,
sometimes
yep.
they write these movies like Super Bad. The kids in it were supposed to be Seth Rogen and I think Justin Long, but it took them so long to actually make the film that they aged out of the roles.
Oh, yeah, that would say how long. Okay. Yeah, it's hard because Tommy Boy is absolutely one of those movies where, like, if even one of the two of you had seen it, we would just be sitting here quoting it at each other. Like, there was a
I've heard
video.
of Fat Guy in a Little Coat.
There was a video that I watched, had nothing to do with anything with like Chris Farley, Tommy Boy, SNL, nothing. And somebody said something about a John Hancock, and in the comments, someone wrote, "I think you mean Herbie Hancock." And I left a comment with a follow-up line, and he was so. Again, you're just like so thrilled. There's something about this movie. It's like you find a kindred spirit that is like, oh, this person knows and loves this movie too. If you like Chris Farley, David Spade, if you like comedy, watch this movie. This movie, Look at what it's doing to me. I can't even say full sentences because this movie makes me so happy. This is one of the funniest movies I've ever seen. Black Sheep was pretty decent. They did this after Tommy Boy, but Tommy Boy is like 5 stars.
I think they were both reading the same script when they passed, respectively. Meant for Candy, but then offered to Farley. Reportedly, others also passed when reading the same script.
Well, I learned something new in the segment about one of my movies. So there you go. Oh, this is another one of my favorite movies. These are the two, Tommy Boy and Empire Records, that I was like, okay, I have to force myself to be on this show. Empire Records, I'm assuming neither of you have seen this movie either, because if you haven't seen Tommy Boy, I feel like you really haven't seen this movie. This is when I say I like cult classic things. This is one of the things that pops into mind. It's just a bunch of 20-somethings in the day in the life of a record store. They're all staff there, and it's Rex Manning Day, and the store is gonna get sold, and they're trying to stop it. It's like an independent store. They're gonna sell it to a chain, and it's literally just a crazy day in this record store. And I remember when I first got a job in a music store, I just turned to one of the staff. And I was just like, when I got this job, I was kind of hoping it'd be something like, and he went, Empire Records. I was like, yes. It's got a classic soundtrack to it, which is usually, one of my hallmarks of a movie I will love. Especially when there's a song that you just so directly tie with it, which is Till I Hear It From You by the Gin Blossoms for me with this. If you look at the poster, you see like it has Renee Zellweger and it has Liv Tyler. This is, I think, one of Renee Zellweger's like first-ish things that she did. I don't know how much it really helped her career at the time, because it was definitely one of those ones that didn't do quite as well in the theater, but it gained all of this traction and love afterwards. And that was how I saw it. I saw it afterwards. I didn't see it in the theater. But you've probably heard this movie quoted at some point, and you just didn't even realize it was Empire Records. And I feel like they're not showing Anthony LaPaglia either. He's a big character in the movie. But this is also like one of those when I say like it's a very 90s thing, and it's like you're of a specific age in a specific time period. It just really feels like it captures that essence. Like Empire Records is one of those movies. I don't know that I would suggest either of you two watch it, because I don't know how much of a thing it would really be for you two the way that it is for me, but it is absolutely one of my favorite movies. And like Tommy Boy, I have lost count of how many times I've watched it. And if you kind of like cult classic-y things, and if you like music and you like kind of like Gen X 90s stuff, watch this, because it's a really fun movie, and hopefully you would fall in love with it the way I did. And I'm done, since you guys didn't watch like any of my movies with the exception of 7.
You can't leave yet, because there's at least one super chat that's addressed to you. So I have to get through. I have to get through 2, and then you can go.
That's all right.
The first one is from Snarky to Stink, gifting 20 WDW Pro memberships.
Cow.
Man, oh man.
Snark, you're incredible. Thank you very much. And to those people out in the chat, if you got one of those, be sure to thank your gifter. Snark's amazing. He supports us on all these channels, and we love you, man. We really appreciate it. Next up, we got Liquid Fox for 5 Canadian. Well, gotta go. Have a great night and a wonderful weekend, everyone. Feel better, Scream Queen.
Oh, thank you, Liquid Fox. I will.
That's to you. And do you have anything that you want to pitch before you take off?
No, I'm just kidding. I just did that on purpose. I'm usually with these two on the M4 cast on Marv's glorious channel, the M4 Empire. I also do the Lost Guys with Nolan Thunder, Martin Stone, and Hangry Table. I always get tongue-tied with this. A T3PO. It's free on T3PO after it is a member exclusive on thatparkplace.com. And we have our 50th episode coming up, which we are excited to be recording. It is a listener
Remember, exclusive on the
request.
That Park Place YouTube channel. It's not on That Park Place.
I'm sorry. That's my brain again. Everyone knew what I meant. And yeah, and that's it.
All right. Feel better, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you for humoring my movies that you guys have never seen. And
feel better, Trish. I saw Mallrats.
Oh, yeah, that's true. I forgot you saw Mallrats. Okay, well, to sort of paraphrase Meatloaf, 2 out of 6 ain't bad. All right, good night, guys.
Night.
Good night. We do have some other super chats to get to here. We have from Tennille the 10th for 2. Being dead isn't the handicap it used to be.
Yeah. That's a good one.
And another from Tennille the 10th for another 2. And neither of Ray's fans have any money.
This is true.
We have from Jason Webster for 5 Australian. Ghost in the Shell, GoldenEye, and Heat are my favorite films of 1995.
Good choices.
And I think that gets us caught up. Marv, we're going to go to your choices next.
All right, cool.
You had a bunch here that actually surprised me. I thought you were going to pick a bunch of different ones, and I had intentionally left some off that I thought you were going to
Let me know which ones you think I was, that surprised you.
Okay. Our first one, this one doesn't. I expected this was going to pop up.
Oh yeah, I mean, this one you still have the super chat up, by the way.
Sorry.
I mean, I remember seeing this in the theaters in 1995, and just being blown away by the graphics of it. This was the game changer. This was the thing that put Pixar on the map. It's one of the best Pixar movies ever made. It's such a timeless story too, of jealousy that turns into friendship. It has a tremendous supporting cast, and it had a really good Sega Genesis game.
Really? I didn't know that part.
I loved the Sega Genesis game for Toy Story.
All right. Well, cool. Next up.
We had the summer of Jumanji one year where we just watched this movie and played this board game like every day. I love this movie. I think that this is one of Robin Williams's best straight up comedy roles. I remember it was really remarkable at the time because it was very early CGI. So the stampede scene and stuff like that, people were blown away by the visuals in this film. But I really loved the rivalry between Alan Parrish and Van Pelt. And I remember it was maybe a year or two ago where somebody was like, well, the father plays the hunter in Jumanji. And I said, I'm sorry, what?
I never picked up on that?
I never realized it as a kid that Van Pelt is the father.
And it goes to those father-son conflicts. That's part of why the movie works.
This movie is so much better than that ridiculously dumb sequel reboot with The Rock.
I like those. I'm sorry you don't.
I mean, look, they just don't hold the candle to the original. On their own, I think I'd probably like them. I don't like that they take place in the jungle and not because part of the fun of this was these animals are in the contemporary world.
Mm-hmm.
So, but also they go into the Jumanji jungle and you find Alan Parrish's treehouse, and I'm like, no, we erased this entire timeline at the end of Jumanji. This doesn't make any sense. Unless the jungle itself never got erased. I don't know.
The next one kind of surprises me a little bit, and I don't really know why. I guess we can talk about it.
This is my favorite Bond.
See, you've never struck me as a Bond kind of guy, so
I love Bond. I do. I haven't seen all of them, but the ones that I've seen, I've enjoyed. My wife is actually a massive Bond fan. But I remember I saw this movie because I loved the video game so much, because everyone in the mid 90s played GoldenEye. And so I remember seeing the movie because of that and just really loving it. Pierce Brosnan is my Bond. He is my favorite of all time. My wife's late father was a huge Bond fan. So her and my brother-in-law, my mother-in-law are all huge Bond fans. They see every new Bond movie when it comes out. And so, like, through her, I've gotten more of an appreciation for the broader franchise as a whole. But before I met her, the only Bonds I had ever really seen were GoldenEye and The World Is Not Enough. I also love the GoldenEye theme song. I think it's one of the better Bond songs.
Have you never seen any of the Connery Bonds?
I hadn't before. This
Okay,
was the
but
first
you have
Bond film
now.
I'd ever seen, but I've seen a few of the Connery ones since.
Okay, cool. This next one is also surprising to me because I didn't even know this movie existed. And out of all of the ones from 95, I was surprised you picked this.
Okay, this movie is just so funny. And so Lois Einhorn from Ace Ventura plays Miss Hyde in this. And the guy from Wings, Tim Daly, is Dr. Jekyll here. And so instead of turning into like an evil dude, he turns into an evil lady. It's just really interesting and like funny comedy. And I just love it because like you could never get away with it today.
No, absolutely not.
Because like he transforms into a woman and like she's evil. Like she tries to like destroy him basically. Yeah, this was it's a fascinating movie. I think it's just really entertaining. I would love to watch it again. I don't think it's streaming anywhere. I doubt that it would be.
Probably not.
But I really like the story of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. So when this came out, even when I was a kid, I was like, oh, I want to see that. And yeah, it was I probably shouldn't have been allowed to see this because I was 10. But yeah, it was funny. Okay. I love the first Mortal. The first Mortal Kombat has its issues, obviously. Sub-Zero and Scorpion not being enemies and just being like basically the henchmen of this film was a mortal sin. But Liu Kang, Johnny Cage, Sonya Blade, all amazing in this movie. Christopher Lambert is Raiden. I still don't understand why he was Raiden, but it works, even though Raiden never really fights anybody. And of course, I mean Shang Tsung. It's the definitive Shang Tsung. The fights are incredible. I like how like Johnny Cage versus Goro is one of my favorites. Johnny Cage versus Scorpion is great. Liu Kang versus Sub-Zero is not that great. Sonya and Kano's not great, but the Liu Kang reptile fight comes out of nowhere in this movie. And it's one of my favorite movie fights of all time.
Really?
Oh yeah, because it's so fast paced and so like nonstop. Like the Johnny Cage Goro fight is more of like a character driven fight, right? And the Scorpion fight was just kind of cool because I like Scorpion, but it's a little slow in the beginning. But the reptile fight, it's just nonstop.
Fair enough. Now you go on a tear that completely baffled me.
Okay.
And so I'm real curious to hear your justifications for these.
Oh my gosh, this movie's great. Are you kidding me?
Really?
Dude, this completes like the set of like baseball themed kids movies that made my childhood. Like it's Sandlot, it's Rookie of the Year, it's Little Big League, and it's this. So this movie got me started with Arthurian Legend, which has been a thing that I've loved my entire life.
This movie. This is the one that did it for me.
Lorn, I was 10 years old. I was exactly the target audience for this.
Did this actually go to theaters or was this straight to video?
No, this was
really?
In theaters?
Huh. I don't remember this at all. I saw this as like, what? I honestly said to myself, what were you thinking?
So Merlin is gone. He only exists in like a well. And he has to pull like from the future a essentially a warrior who could help Arthur reclaim Excalibur because Arthur's old and he can't brandish Excalibur anymore. And he pulls this kid from Reseda and he pulls him into Arthurian Legend. And man, I like it. It was good. Like it was fun. It was a kid's movie. I was a kid.
Well, it's got to be a take on a Connecticut Yankee in King Arthur's Court. That has to be
Probably.
the genesis for it. But it's like, okay, I am surprised. This next one probably shouldn't surprise me, but it kind of did anyway.
How did this surprise you?
There were so many. It's like, look, I know I've told people that we're not actually doing ranked lists, and we're not. But
If there was
95
one
was.
movie on this list, if I was allowed one movie, this is the
This is
movie.
the one. This is the
This
one.
is the
Really.
movie. You have no idea. This movie meant everything to me as a kid because I was so into Power Rangers. And for them to be on the big screen, for my dad who hated Power Rangers to have to take me to see this and legitimize my love of this thing, the way the way he had to do it. What, like, I remember we didn't see it when it opened because I had to like beg my parents to take me to it. And I remember, I don't remember what, maybe it was Toy Story that we were seeing. And I got to go to the bathroom and I passed a theater that was playing this movie. Or it might have been, maybe it was Indian in the Cupboard or something like that. I don't know. It was something that was out when this was out. And I'm walking past and I see the movie like through the little door in the theater. And I'm like pressed up against the window, like trying to see what it is. And like the usher was like, hey, get out of there. But so I was just in the last couple of years, I realized that the villain Ivan Ooze is actually Belloc from Raiders of the
Paul,
Lost Ark.
Paul Freeman.
It's Paul Freeman. Yeah, I never knew that's who that was, and he does. I mean, you need to find like a compilation of Ivan Ooze quotes because it is Paul Freeman chewing the scenery and having a ball doing it. But he like Ivan Ooze is like this like crazy, like, you know, he's like funny and like snarky, but he gets these moments where he gets really like terrifying. um he's just like they're like, we're the Power Rangers, and he goes, woo, where's my autograph book? Ha! Power Rangers, huh? And then he goes into this. He's like, well, allow me to introduce myself. I'm the galactically feared, globally reviled, universally despised. They call me Ivan Ooze. And it's like, it's such a good performance. I love this movie so much, dude.
God
Like,
bless you, Marvin. You actually have that whole speech memorized. I'm
I have
impressed.
way more than that. I wore this movie out. Like, I think it was it was the VHS for the Page Master. I watched the Page Master more times than any person could ever possibly have wanted to watch that movie because there was a trailer in the beginning of the VHS, an extended trailer for this movie.
You know, you could turn the movie off after you watch the trailer. Right?
Yeah, but the tape was already in. We were already watching it. I'm like, I'll just sit through the Page Master. It's not a bad movie.
All right. This next, okay, I'm just gonna put it up.
Dude, again, I was 10 years old. I was the target audience for this film.
I was too. I remember liking it, but I recently had to watch it for the genre guys, and I asked myself, what were you thinking? What? Why?
Now, to be fair, I have not rewatched this movie in many, many years.
Oh, it's rough. It is so rough. It was. I had an image in my head of what this movie was that I remembered from my young brain. And it did not line up at all. It was one of those things where it's like, I liked this when it came out. When I saw it in the theaters, I thought it was good. What happened?
This is on the list also partly just because I wanted you and I to discuss this movie a little bit.
Okay, let's go.
I actually like Nicole Kidman in this. Like, I thought it was like really interesting how she is just throwing herself at this man for the entirety of this film. Val Kilmer's, there's no distinction between Batman and Bruce Wayne.
No.
In fact, I think Bruce Wayne might be a darker presence than Batman in this movie.
Possibly.
Chris O'Donnell is entirely too old to be Robin.
Yes, but he does get the one laugh line for me in the movie, which is "Holy rusted metal, Batman."
Yep. Holy rusted metal was my favorite. I mean, look, Jim Carrey is just doing the Ace Ventura in a green unitard.
He did it so much.
Yeah. And Tommy Lee Jones was like, "Oh, well, it's a Batman movie. I should just act like the Joker."
He hated it too. He hated every minute of it. He hated
Oh,
Jim Carrey.
did Jim Carrey and Tommy Lee Jones not get along on this film?
Oh, you haven't heard this story?
I've never heard any behind the scenes stuff about this movie.
Jim Carrey tells the story that that Tommy Lee Jones basically came up to him, and it's like it was obvious that they didn't like each other, and Jim Carrey didn't quite understand what Tommy Lee's problem with him was, and so he asked him, and Tommy Lee came up to him and just said, "I cannot sanction your buffoonery."
I'm gonna use that on somebody in the future.
Which, from my standpoint, fair point. But understand that at the time, Tommy Lee Jones was wearing a pink rubber face on half of his. It's like, who thought this was a good casting for Harvey Dent? It's like if they were playing it straight, if this was a serious Batman movie and he was playing an attorney, a serious attorney, okay, then I get it. But this was not that.
I mean, come on. When he's got like the hideout that's the two different colors and he's got the two girlfriends though.
Yes, okay, in a camp 1960s Batman kind of way, yes, it's clever, but
Well, that's the thing. It wasn't Two-Face and it wasn't the Riddler. It was
This movie
Tommy Lee
hurt me.
Jones like doing a Jack Nicholson plus 10 impression, and it was Jim Carrey just being Jim Carrey.
The movie hurt me.
By the way, everybody gives Batman and Robin flack for the bat nipples. They're in this movie too.
Yes, they are. That's where they first appeared. This one I never saw, so I can't really comment on it.
You never saw Casper?
I never saw Casper.
Oh, so I liked the Casper cartoons as a kid. This movie is actually really good. Like it is a really great like live action take on Casper. It's sad because like they actually tackle like the concept of like this is a child who died. Because he like so him and Christina Ricci are like sitting there like talking about life and death, and he can't remember his life. And then she finds like his old bedroom in the house, and he starts to remember things, and he starts to remember how he got sick. He's like, I got sick and my dad got sad. And he finds his father had built some kind of machine that was able to return a person to like basically to revive him and make him alive again. But his father died before he could use the machine. And so they're going to use it to bring him back to life. And then Christina Ricci's father dies and becomes a ghost. And instead of him using it on himself, he uses it on the father to bring him back for her. And so he stays a ghost. And then the girl, Christina Ricci's mom, who's already gone, she gives him the ability to become human for one night at the end. And he becomes a boy again. And he comes down and he dances with her, but then he becomes a ghost again. And so like it's actually like a really sad movie, and it's like a deep movie, but it's also a ridiculous movie. The ghostly trio, who are the three ghosts hovering above him, they're great.
Well, don't get me wrong. When I was a kid, I would read the comics, and I even had a little read-along book with some records and there was a whole theme song for Casper and all of that too. I don't remember any of this from the Harvey comics. So
yeah, well, so like Space Dave just said, when I was a kid, I had a huge crush on Christina Ricci from this movie when I was a kid.
Yep.
But yeah, this movie is sad, dude. Like you can't just like watch. Like I have to be in the right mood to be able to watch it. Like
that's surprising.
Oh yeah, it's. I think about this movie quite a bit. Like it's just like a fun film until it's not. Oh, one of the first like bloody violent movies that I saw. One of the first, like, I guess you could call it a swashbuckler almost, because it's just a lot of swordplay. And it's the first thing I've ever seen Liam Neeson in. And
this was your first exposure.
Yeah, I loved Rob Roy was good, man. This movie's great. It has great sword fights. I love the villain is like a fencer. And Rob Roy is just, he's like a Scottish, warrior. He fights with a broadsword and all that stuff. Their final fight is so cool. And I'll never forget, like, just why, because like the guy outclasses him, and he's got the sword to Liam Neeson's neck, like the rapier, and he basically takes it and he just pulls it away, and then just slashes him down the body, and it's such a good movie.
This one actually doesn't surprise me because I think I've heard you talk about it before.
Oh yeah, I mean, who doesn't love this movie? Like, I loved the Goof Troop as part of the Disney Afternoon, and this is basically like the sequel to the Goof Troop. So I've had the chance to talk to Bill Farmer, the voice of Goofy, in the past, and we talked about this movie. Like, we had a pretty long conversation, and he told me that like he was the only member of the Fab Five, of Disney to ever actually get their own movie, and he was really really nervous about it. And he said he remembered just like sitting in the theater, like kind of side-eyeing Michael Eisner when they did the preview for the executives, and just trying to make sure Michael Eisner liked it. But this movie says such, first of all, I love the tagline, it's hard to be cool when your dad is goofy. I This movie, like, it's funny, it's fun, but it also has something to say. And it's a really interesting thing about fathers and sons, and when your son grows up and he doesn't think you're his world anymore. And the line, and I said to I mean, when I talked to Bill, I said to him, I said, man, I said, you got me at one part. And he's like, oh, what, the waterfall? And I said, like, the line I said I remember is, I have my own life now. And when Goofy says, I know, I just want to be a part of it. And like, as a kid, that broke me. And now, like, as an adult, it's so funny to also, like, with this movie, you go through stages. Like, when you're a kid, you watch this movie and you're like, come on, Goofy, just take your son to the concert. It means so much to him. And then as an adult, you're like, darn it, Max, go camping with your father. It means so much to him.
Those are the best kind of movies that you get a different spin on it as you age. I totally get that. That's cool.
It also gave us Lester's Possum Park with all the malfunctioning animatronics, and I make that joke constantly. And yes, DuckTales did have a movie. It's a phenomenal movie. But no one in DuckTales is a member of the Fab Five. The Fab Five is Mickey, Minnie, Donald, Goofy, Pluto. This movie is like, so this movie starts the trend of a trend that I hate to this day, which is like this thing from your childhood or from older times. It's in our world now. Like, I normally hate that. Like the Smurfs movie, like every time they've made a Smurfs movie, it's that same thing. This movie does it right, because the Bradys are just inexplicably in the 90s. The tagline is great. They're back to save America from the 90s. And they're basically like this family from the 60s in the 90s or 70s. Brady's were the 70s, right? I think.
Say that again.
Brady Bunch was the 70s.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's this 70s family in the 90s. And they're like, first of all, the guy playing Mike Brady does a dead on Mike Brady. And all of the surviving most of the surviving Bradys actually make cameo appearances in it. And like, it's such a fun movie watching all these like nihilistic, like sarcastic 90s characters interacting with the Brady Bunch. At the end, he's like, I'm gonna kick your Brady butt, and the kids are all like, oh, he said the B word. I mean, look, I didn't see this when it came out. I was a little too young. But when I saw this as a teenager, I loved it. It started, me thinking Adam Sandler was funny, and it didn't last very long. But this movie is funny. This movie is funny. It's clever. I mean, it's kind of a really dumb plot that only happens in a 90s movie, right? Like, well, to do this, you've got to go through school again. Like, yeah, Billy Madison. It's a funny movie. I mean, the thing you always know for is Stop Looking at Me, Swan, and it's poop again. So I like Billy Madison. What can I say? It was the movie that I told you if you have to take any off, start with Billy Madison.
And finally, you're giving the audience what it wants.
Yeah. This is I'm here to piss off Lorn. The movie's not great, but Highlander: The Final Dimension. This is more of like a direct sequel to Highlander 1 than Highlander 2. Highlander 2 is so bad. It's basically like an alternaverse story at this point, because in this one you find out Connor never really had the prize. Kind of inexplicably, he fights this guy Kane. It's Highlander 2 is terrible. This is marginally better. And it's not as good as Highlander 1.
No. Go into detail. Tell me how good it is.
I mean, it's not good.
No, you put it on your list. It's gotta be good.
It's campy. It's campy good. I have not watched this movie since probably 1999.
I take it there's a reason.
I mean, yeah, it's not great.
All right, I'll let you off the hook.
Yeah, so there's not like a lot of immortals. It's just kind of Connor and Kane. Despite Highland, it's so confusing, the continuity, because then when they decide that they're going to do the TV series, it's, the movies happened, but it wasn't actually The Gathering. Duncan's there. You have Duncan MacLeod, who is one of Connor's clansmen, who inexplicably has the same kind of sword Connor has, but he got it from someone else. Though I will say the TV show is actually so much better than the movies.
I'll have to take your word for it, because I'm never going to find out.
Oh, the first season is rough. Like, it's terribly acted. But once they kill off Tessa in the second season, Duncan's love interest, and they start moving ahead from there, then it gets a lot better.
So we got a couple of super chats to get to. One is from Snark for $5. Marv, you look either high as a kite or exhausted. Been a fun night.
I am exhausted, my friend. I don't do the getting high thing.
And we've got Retromeister for $5. Batman Forever to me was a live-action episode of Batman the Animated Series with an all-star cast. Yeah, I was going to say the same thing, but I wondered what you were going to say to that.
How dare you? No.
Well, Mortal Kombat was a cheesy Power Rangers movie with Mortal Kombat characters.
Well, so the problem with the Mortal Kombat movie was, I think they made it for, like a PG-13 audience, and a Mortal Kombat movie really should have been rated R, because it should have been. There's no blood in that movie, really. There's no. This is a franchise where people are ripping each other's skeletons out.
That's true. All right. Space Dave is asking me, did I miss a super? I don't think so.
You have 2 more.
Do I?
Yeah.
They're not showing up for me.
Snarky at 7:35, and then Chef Eddie at 10:41.
Okay, I don't.
They're starred in the chat.
I don't see them anymore. They're gone.
Oh.
I don't show that I have any.
Out then. Snarky Distinct for $4.99 says, I graduated high school in 1995, a month before my 18th birthday, ages ago it seems. Oh, how I have changed, and the world as well. Make it great. Yep. Oh, you did read that one.
Yeah, we did that one. Yeah.
All right. Well, Chef Eddie for $5 said, fun fact, Highlander 3 is set in 1994, making it a sequel to the first movie, but a prequel to the second movie.
Is that the one that Chef Eddie is saying that he says I missed a super chat from before the show? I show nothing in the deck at all. They're all gone.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Go ahead and put that in the main chat, and I'll read it.
Put super chat in all caps so that we see it, because I don't see anything either.
Retromeister says that he stands by his quote on Batman Forever, by the way.
It's nothing like the animated series. The animated series took itself way more serious than Batman Forever did.
You get nothing. Oh,
Still
that was it.
You were surprised that the Power Rangers movie was on my list.
I probably shouldn't be. I forget sometimes that you're younger than I am, and I was well beyond watching that when it came out. So
Oh
it
man,
just
when that came out, man, I was right in that sweet spot in age where, like, it was like I was the target audience.
my first real IT job, the gal that I worked with, who sat next to me, was the president of the Amy Jo Johnson fan club, and I had to hear more about the Pink Power Ranger than I ever wanted to hear as an adult.
And people like that are the reason why she didn't do conventions for a long time. The
Yep,
nerds really freaked her out. And so, like, she didn't do anything related to the show for a really long time. Also, a lot of the actors from the original Power Rangers are pretty, like, bitter about it, because you have to understand they were the biggest stars on the planet for like 2 years, and they were making $1,000 a week.
yeah, I can understand why that would
And
be frustrating.
when they finally stood their ground and asked for a raise, they were fired and replaced. Haim
As
Saban
you
does not play around. Haim Saban was like, I want to make this show and had spent no money.
and
He was
well, part of why I would probably never watch it, but I understand it. I guess maybe your Power Rangers is my version of Land of the Lost. If you
probably.
ever, I guess that's
It
probably
was
that.
First of all, can I just say Power Rangers was on the stupidest schedule ever when I was a kid. It came on weekday afternoons at 2:30 in the afternoon. School gets out at 3:00. In what universe? So I had to have my mom hit the record button on the VCR every day for it. And
wow.
if she forgot, and she routinely forgot, it was a day ruin. She forgot in like one of the pivotal episodes of the Evil Green Ranger saga, and I was like livid. Still hold it. Honestly, I have the Dragon Dagger up here on my shelf, and that's because when I was a kid, it was the one Power Ranger toy I never got. It was the one that like I really wanted, and they never got me. And so when the Lightning Collection came out and they had a Dragon Dagger out for Christmas that year, I sent a link to it to my parents. I said, you have a rare opportunity in front of you to correct a grievous mistake that you made years ago. And sure enough, I got it.
All right, we're going to hit mine. I'm probably going to go through these quickly because a couple I don't really have a lot to say about. It's more that there was sort of a trend going on at the time. The first one is Species.
Okay, I never saw this movie, but I always saw the box for it at Blockbuster.
Oh, everybody did. This was Natasha Henstridge, and the thing that surprised me when I was looking this up to do some research on it tonight is I had forgotten it's actually got a stellar cast. It's got Ben Kingsley is in this movie, and I was
really.
Yeah. It's like it's incredible. It was like what's the Michael Madsen. Michael Madsen's in this movie. There's a couple other folks that are just. It's like, what are you doing in this? This was B movie schlock, but it was kind of fun. It was an interesting idea. They're talking about how they had sent out coded messages into space, and 20 years later they got a response, and it included sequenced alien DNA, and scientists decided that they were going to essentially splice this DNA into a human girl and study what happens. And then they decide that she's a potential threat and they're going to terminate the project, and naturally she escapes. And the draw of the thing is that she wants to mate with a human male, which of course gives you that factor of it. But she's it's a monster movie, it's a big dumb monster movie, and it's a product of its time. But I was shocked when I got to looking at it that the talent that's in this movie, they don't belong in this movie.
Ben Kingsley is a strange one.
I couldn't believe it when it's like I watched the trailer and it's like, that is Ben Kingsley. I guess everybody occasionally takes a project for money. Here's where the trend that I was talking about is, and it's very obvious, that the internet occurred. There was The Net with
Mhm.
Sandra Bullock, which is probably the first real movie that I remember with her in it. I know she'd been in stuff before, but this is the first one that I really remember.
It's about identity theft.
Yeah, it was one of the. It's like this was really early stuff that they were talking about. Yes,
Mm.
and actually was showing some really early shell-based tools that you would use at the time. We're talking about before TCP/IP connections. Most people were using slip connections at the time. So, if you want to see some retro internet history, there you go. Next one is Johnny Mnemonic, which I was talking with my dad about just last week. This was pre-Matrix,
Keanu
but
Reeves and
in,
Dolph Lundgren.
yeah, and this was a movie that I wanted to like. I remember seeing the trailer and thinking, "Oh, this is going to be awesome." It's all the cyberpunk style stuff that you want to see. If I remember right, I think it's based on a William Gibson story. But the thing that pushed me over the edge in the movie is they have a hacker dolphin. Uh, yes,
Is that
it,
what?
where
Wait, like, is dolphin like some kind of technical term, or is it like a
no,
legitimate
it's
like
a literal.
bottlenose dolphin?
It's a bottlenose dolphin that the Navy uses to decrypt information about submarines somehow. It's got what amounts to VR goggles on its little dolphin face. It was like that was a bridge too far for me. Um, yes, and that's something that somebody else brings up in the trailer. He talks about the fact that basically he's a courier. He is a living courier for information that where portions of his memory are wiped out to hold sensitive information that he needs to take where it needs to go, and he has to lose memories, basically his childhood, in order to transport this data. He is capable of transporting 80 gigabytes of data. And unfortunately, in the movie, he's actually had way too much data implanted into his head that he needs to get out. 320 gigs, if I remember right, which at the time, understand, this was an astronomical, unbelievable amount of data. And now would amount to basically your average computer game that gets put out by a AAA studio. So, uh,
Seriously.
technology moves fast. This next one, I had on the list because this is actually an early DVD that I bought. This was also kind of in the same vein. It was a cyberpunk style story when all of the internet was taking off, but I feel like nobody really talks about this one. Strange Days.
I've never
It's
even
got
heard
Ray.
of it.
It's got Ray Fiennes. It's got Angela Bassett. It's got Juliette Lewis. Had an amazing trailer. It takes place, I mean, honestly, during Y2K. Although they hadn't thought of that at the time. It was the turning over of the calendar year from 1999 to 2000. It takes place on New Year's Eve. Um, it's a pretty good movie. It's not great. Had again, I'll say it again. It had an amazing trailer. I was really excited to see this movie. It ended up being kind of forgettable. There's nothing great about it, but it's kind of an interesting historical curiosity if you want to go back and see what we were thinking about at the time that this came out. Um, Now we're going to get into what I think are the better picks for me from this. This next one I remember, but I don't remember real well. I just remember it's a great movie. Devil in a Blue Dress.
Oh,
This is Denzel Washington, 1940s, if I remember right, kind of a noir picture. And again, I don't remember a whole lot of the details about this movie other than that I saw it in theaters with my parents and I remember I really liked it. It's a standout Denzel performance. It's a period piece. If you like that kind of thing, it's definitely worth watching. If you haven't seen it, I definitely recommend it. Next one up, Die Hard with a Vengeance.
of course.
I love this movie. I think that this is darn near as good as the original Die Hard. Jeremy Irons was perfect in it. Samuel L. Jackson was a great addition to it. Anytime I hear the ants go marching one by one, I think of this movie, and that's why. I think probably everybody has seen this, but it's definitely worth watching again. This next one, Mr. Holland's
Oh,
Opus.
yeah.
I wondered if you had seen this one. I feel like
Yeah,
this is
like
one
not
that
since like the 90s, but yeah.
touching movie. I think one of Richard Dreyfuss's greatest performances. I remember watching this in the theater. It was a huge hit that year, and the premise of the thing is essentially that this guy, Mr. Holland, he wants to be a famous composer. He is composing this piece of music that is in his head, and he wants to take the world by storm with it. But he has to pay the bills, and writing music doesn't do that. So he takes what he thinks is going to be a temp job at a local high school teaching music, which he desperately doesn't want to do. But over time, he forms a connection with these students, and the movie takes place over decades. And it begins, I believe, in the '60s. He is very much a fan of the Beatles. You get to see and hear music throughout the decades as he moves on. There are challenges. He and his wife have a son, and he has a bit of a strained relationship with his son because he's all about music, and his son is born deaf. And it's a character piece, and there are lots of characters in it. There's joy, there's tragedy. At the end of the movie, you see, as he's about to retire, all of these kids come back that he has taught throughout the decades to get together to play the piece of music that he has written, and all of them playing their instruments that you've seen them learn throughout this movie. It's a tearjerker. It's a great movie, well worth a watch. Um, Next one up, one of my favorites, Get Shorty. This is based on an Elmore Leonard story. It is slick, it is funny, it is clever, it is smart. If you're familiar with Elmore Leonard's writing, he writes some of the snappiest dialogue in anything. This is the same guy who wrote the original 310 to Yuma way back in the 50s. This is the man who is responsible for the character Raylan Givens, who you would know from Justified, if you've seen those. Another one of my favorite movies of his is called The Big Bounce. It stars Owen Wilson. If you like snappy dialogue, clever characters, this is one to watch. Again, John Travolta, Rene Russo, you've got Danny DeVito, Gene Hackman in one of my favorite performances of his is Harry Sim. Hilarious, and through the character that John Travolta plays in this movie, Elmore Leonard is kind of showing off what a film buff he is as well. So if you like movies as well, that's a good reason to watch this one. I did see in the chat that you guys had brought this up. You demanded that it be on the list. It is on the list. Crimson Tide. Another one of my very favorite Gene Hackman performances. Denzel, too. This is what do you call this movie? It's a men locked in a room movie. In this case, it's just a submarine, and the issue is that you have the submarine commander, Gene Hackman, who is kind of an old school Navy guy, and you have Denzel Washington, who has to come out and serve as his XO on this boat for this particular mission that they are involved in, that involves a potential coup taking place in Russia, if I remember right, and this sub gets deployed, and in the middle of the mission, they receive a partial transmission that sounds as though nukes may have been launched, and it's an order for them to launch their own nukes. But the message is not complete, and they can't authenticate it. And this ends up leading to Denzel leading a mutiny against the captain of the boat. And each of them presents their case beautifully. It's like these two men are so opposed. You have the old school Navy man and the new kind of a rookie XO who's more touchy-feely. And each of them are operating from their own principled base. We covered this movie on the Genre Guys earlier in the year. This is just a fantastic military drama, and you understand both men's point, which is part of what makes it so great. And go ahead.
I will tell you that for 1996, I will have a submarine movie on my list.
Good enough. I'm anxious to hear about it. My final movie is one that if you have not seen this movie, I pretty much demand that you watch it. This movie blew my mind the first time that I saw it. The Usual Suspects.
Never seen it.
You have never seen this movie. I demand that you watch this movie. I
Okay.
will tell you nothing about it because you just have to see it to believe it. This is a crime picture. It has an absolutely stacked cast. Look at this. Look at this list. You've got Kevin Pollak there, Stephen Baldwin. You've
Kevin
got
Spacey.
Gabriel Byrne. You've got Benicio del Toro, Kevin Spacey in a powerhouse performance. And I see them shouting in the chat there. Tell Marv nothing about the movie. I'm not going to. I am not going to tell you
You know
anything
what's
about it.
funny? Like we I'm sorry, go ahead. I'll tell you what's funny afterward.
This is one of my favorite crime dramas ever. Ever. I put this up against some of the best of the best. It's a noir picture as well, like a lot of my favorite movies are, but it's a modern noir. Um, I can't say anything more about it than that, but I'm not kidding when I say I want you to watch this
I
movie.
just wrote it down on my whiteboard.
I'm telling you, you will be rewarded for it. So that's all I'm
Um,
going to say.
the thing I was going to say was funny was I left Braveheart off my list because I was sure it was going to be on your list.
Yep, it's like there's a bunch of movies that we didn't cover, and I think that part of that is that you have to understand, folks, we're not in a room together. And when we're building our lists, we're each doing it independently, but before we get to showtime, I've got to get these images that we're putting up on the show. And there's a lot of back and forth that takes place in our private communications as we're frantically sending lists to each other. And sometimes we have to strike movies from lists because they're duplicated between us. And it gets to be a little bit of pandemonium. Kevin's not here tonight. A lot of the movies that you're talking about, I think we probably both left off deliberately because we thought Kevin would have them.
Also, yes. Wait, hold on. They're saying Space Jam in the chat. Space Jam was 1995?
That's probably about right. I think that would be right. Yeah.
No, Space Jam is 1996. Don't worry, we'll get there next time.
Was it?
Yeah.
Okay. 7 was on the list. Trish had that one.
Yeah, Trish did 7.
Yeah. Anyway, that is our list for tonight. Thank you all of us for being here. We do apologize a little bit that the cast was a little light tonight. I really would have liked to have had Kevin's lists.
By the way, Space Dave, Jingle All the Way was also 1996.
I have seen Casino mentioned there. I know that's probably one you wanted to have on yours, I would bet.
No.
No, really?
Never saw it.
Okay. All right. Well, I haven't either. That's one that I would like to see because
I guarantee
everybody
you it'll be on Kevin. It would have been in Kevin's, so.
Yeah, it's like one of the things that surprised me when looking up the movies in 95 tonight is that 95 really was a stacked year. There's a lot of times that I struggle to put my list together because I know the movies I like. I go to see the movies I like. There's a lot of movies that I don't watch that usually surprise people when I haven't seen them. And so I sometimes have to struggle to fill out the list to where I think it needs to be. That wasn't a problem tonight. 95 had so many good movies that there's no way we could possibly cover them all. And like I said, I knew that Kevin probably would have had a lot of these. So I probably am going to ask Kevin to get me what his list would be. And maybe we'll cover that the next time that we do this. Because I promise you, a lot of the ones that you're talking about, he would have had. Yeah. But that's it for us tonight. We don't have any additional super chats to get to. Marvin, is there anything you want to pitch before we outro out?
No. I mean, M4 Empire, we had a video today on Starfleet Academy, which I think you guys should all check out. I think you'll like it. M4 Empire Gaming, our new gaming channel. Please follow along. I'll probably be going live at some point over the weekend. And then, of course, we're going to have a Rachel Zegler video tomorrow on M4 Empire. So, check it out.
All right, sounds good. You'll see me next probably on, I'm guessing, either the Monday morning WDW Pro Show or the next possible opportunity would be the Pro Show pre-show on Tuesday with Marv. So I look forward to seeing you guys there. In the meantime, have a great weekend, and we'll catch you next time.
Lorn and Apollo!